Okay, so this is the second part of the Strict Equality Society series, and now I'm going to tell you how under strict equality we change the law, how the law gets changed. Okay, basically, let's take oh, by the way, it's night time now. That's why the video is a bit darker here. So basically, you take a typical state within the strict equality zone. Now it'll probably be lying within another state or another state within it or whatever. But let's just forget about that. Let's just take the state in this one state in isolation. Now let's suppose it's been running for a while and it's already got laws that apply to most things. Obviously, when the state starts up the first time, that's going to be an unusual situation, which I won't be dealing with here. But anyway, the normal thing we need to know is how we change the law when the state's already running. Now, basically, what I suggest we have is a process which I call direct democracy by lawmaking jury. The reason we're going to have a type of direct democracy is basically under strict equality, as you know. You have to have equality of power between people, so there's no way you can really have a government or representative democracy, because these representative Democrats, they're basically like 1,000 times more powerful than a normal person, I would have thought. So can't really have politicians. So this direct democracy by lawmaking jury is a two-stage process. First you get the proposal stage, and then we got the deliberation stage, which ends with the decision whether to approve a new law or not. Okay, so in the proposal stage, all citizens are allowed to propose laws, one law at a time, basically. So typical citizen, he'll have he or she will have a law he or she is proposing. Now this could be a law that they've made up themselves, or it could be, you could probably more commonly be giving your consent to or approval or whatever to another law someone else is making. Now every 2 weeks, I say 2 weeks, that's a bit arbitrary, but it seems like a reasonable period of time. Every 2 weeks, the most popular proposal within the state, like the top of the proposal charts, gets moved on to the next stage, which is the deliberation stage. So the deliberation stage is basically random citizens basically get chosen to deliberate about the law, and then eventually make a decision about it. Now, as we know from like Gallup polls and so on, you only need a certain sample from the whole population to get a fair representation of what people's opinions are. So I don't know anything about statistics, but they seem to choose like 2,000 people usually, and that can represent like millions of people. So I'm going with 2,000. Now, I also suggest that we don't just get 2,000 people in a room, because some people are just not going to be able to. Most of them are not going to be able to talk. So I suggest we divide it into juries of 5 people, which seems like a reasonable number of people to have a conversation with one another, and 5 members to each jury. So to get your 2,000 people, you need to have 400 juries. So they get convened throughout the state in different towns and cities throughout this state, and at the same time, I suppose. And at the end of the 2 weeks, when they've deliberated, I suggest they actually vote separately as individuals, either for or against the new law. When I say a new law, it could be a change in the law is basically a slightly different law to an existing law, and the rule will always be that the new law always trumps the old laws. It always replaces the old law. Basically, you've got the courts. They're sitting for 2 weeks now. So during the 2 weeks, they are in the driving seat a bit more than we have in courts now. The jurors, and they can basically talk amongst themselves, obviously, but also call witnesses who hopefully have some relevant knowledge or experience about the law that's in question. So they can draw up experts, people with something relevant to say, and become reasonably educated in the issue by the time they actually cast their vote. So that, in a nutshell, is the lawmaking system. Okay, a couple of complications which I haven't fully ironed out in this system. Okay, one thing. This really only kind of works for states which are reasonably large. Well, not actually reasonably large as states, but they've got to be at least the size of a kind of town to do this system, I think. I suggest we need about 100,000 people to be running this kind of system. You need, like, if we have each juror doing literally 2 weeks a year and then doing their normal whatever they do the rest of the time, then that's going to take, well, we got 2,000 for each law. So, but then you got, like, if each law is 2 weeks, it takes 2 weeks to be discussed, then there's going to be 25 laws a year, because there's 25 like fortnights in a year. 25 times 2,000 is 50,000. So basically, you need like 50,000 people just to be the jurors. But then these courts are obviously going to need another 5 or 10 other people, including these expert witnesses, and also the people like running the court, clerks, whatever, people recording what's going on, and like a judge. I wouldn't call it a judge, maybe you could call it a referee, whatever, some kind of like rotating team of referees, because obviously no one's going to be allowed to be as powerful as a judge probably in this system. So those other people, like, that's going to amount to another probably, given that you don't want people to be in these courts all the time because they're going to be really powerful. So you can have people who work in these courts probably rotating and doing actually just part-timers, basically doing other jobs most of the rest of the time. That's going to take probably another, I don't know, 50,000 people involved. So I don't know how the law-making system would work in states that have less than a kind of town's worth of people. This system, I think, wouldn't exactly work then. But I'm actually confident that you could have a state with like 2,000 people in it, but you just have to have a slightly different approach to this. Maybe you'd have to have people spending more of their time making the laws than 2 weeks a year. The other point is that we don't really have an executive here, do we? We don't have. There might be sort of emergency things that need to be done, and there would have to be a more rapid lawmaking system possible, like for an emergency decision that has to be made within a day or two. Don't know how exactly that will work, but it seems feasible. You can have kind of emergency fast version of this lawmaking system. Okay, so that's the lawmaking system for each state. Thank you.